Are we at the beginning of something huge? Dark pool activity just intensified. And in today's video, we need to take a look at the options moves, the flows, and of course, what's going on in the world of crypto, stocks, and commodities. With MSTR selling off 37%, we thought the daily 20 moving average would find buyers. As it turns out, that's exactly what happened. But it's the 6,000 call wall that we also need to discuss coming into Thanksgiving in the US. What happens now, but more importantly, what happens next week. In today's video, we take a look at all of the biggest opportunities right now in the markets, including the possible awakening of a sleeping dragon. Let's go through it all right now together, guys. This one is not to be missed. Well, welcome back everybody to The Daily Show. My name's Tom, and in today's video, there's a lot to discuss because we've got the latest macro flows, options volumes, and of course, dark pool activity. Some new markets starting to show very good signs in comparison to just what usually people look at. So let's get into it straight away with the beginning of discussions about Ethereum. Now, you may have noticed about a week and a half ago, we started to switch to the idea that Ethereum was looking better than most people suspected. Fast forward to now, and things have certainly gotten better over this event. And you may now know that it comes back to, are we entering into what's called the alt season? Now, so some of you probably don't really care too much about crypto, some of you do, but it always pays to look where the flows are moving. And what this really tells us, whether you're a stock trader or a crypto trader, is that risk is on in a big way, similar to 2020, 2021, where we saw effectively small cap stocks, mid cap stocks, and really anything to do with the cryptoverse start to improve. And this is because people are feeling it. They are basically willing to take leverage and they're willing to chase. And if we're right about these types of things, often Ethereum can actually be the beginning in December. Remember, we think it's been brought forward based on this cycle being about a month and a half in front, and that it could actually lead into all the way through the beginning of 2025. Now, is that any guarantee? Absolutely not. But as we'll see with the technical analysis and the big dark pool activity in just a moment, it does look like someone is positioning into these moves. You'll notice here in terms of seasonal trends for Ethereum over the last 9 years that December is usually okay, but it's really January, February into May that has given the bulk of the majority of the kind of results. Now, this year will be different. We've already seen seasonality break a little bit in crypto, so remember to keep that in the back of your mind. But at least in terms of the data, things are looking better. Now, speaking of data, look at these transactions. We've been using dark pools recently quite a lot to talk about MSTR, talk about Bitcoin, how we thought it was possibly seeing maybe a little bit of a marginal top there around that 98, 99,000. And we seem to have just seen what probably is accumulation by the street. Take a look at this. The largest transaction ever recorded on 2 times Ether ETF ETHU. Now, this is such an important thing. Not only did we see the second largest transaction ever recorded, but then we saw the biggest. And of course, this has led on to the stock going ballistic over the last 24 hours. Now, when do we need to be paying attention to possibly it going backwards against us? Well, of course, that's when these positions start to sell out. And on the channel, we will be talking about that together. So make sure to subscribe and of course, follow along. This is a huge print though, the biggest ever recorded on what is a relatively new, of course, ETF, but still that's a margined ETF. And that's how they do it. You know, in the sneaky Wall Street boffins, they always get in early and they tend to be mostly correct. Luckily, if you've been watching the channel, we've been talking about this over the last couple of days. Price action doesn't lie, the news generally does. And I can tell you that most people were telling me that Ethereum was a dead token and Solana is great. And maybe that's true, but it doesn't really matter in the cryptoverse. It's all about flows. Speaking of that, MSTR selling off over 37%. We mentioned in our last video that we thought the daily 20 may hold up, and it did to the tune of a nice little bounce over the last session. But whenever you see this type of thing, I think that you don't want to be like clamoring to go for 550, 600 straight away. This usually tells us that we're in for a point of consolidation. And again, this type of sign is something that I look for when it comes to the alt season this time around in crypto. Now, I notice that misinformation and disinformation seems to be a big thing. I might be wrong here, but I doubt this is a real portfolio. But I'm seeing it go around X in a big way. And everybody's going on about how supposedly this Trump portfolio is holding so much Ethereum and Polygon is the way to go. LoveYouTrump.eth is the owner. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, It's a big portfolio. It's $7 million. So is it real? Hey, I'll let you be the decider of that. But I think in general, it hasn't been confirmed to be Donald Trump's address. Let's move over to Bitcoin and crypto moving through the seasonality. Again, this helps us as a stock and investor and trader to show us that risk is on at this point. And if this is going like this, then of course, hypergrowth stocks from 2021 have already started to improve. We've shown that several times together. And of course, we're starting to see, well, we have been seeing mid caps and a rotation out of the FANG stocks, out of those big, magnificent 7 style stocks and into these smaller caps. So do we like what we're seeing in the markets? Well, of course, the last 24 hours, it's still floating around 6,000. But remember, the dark pools showed accumulation on the way up through this trend. And that generally means there is further movement to come to the upside if you can hold on. We also saw upgrades coming in. There's even further upgrades now from this report, and we're seeing most of them coming in around 7,000. Everybody very excited in the markets. And this is because everything looks pretty good. Whether you're looking at the S&P financials, which are making all-time highs, whether you're looking at the S&P 500 cyclical sector index, it's making all-time highs. The New York Stock Exchange Daily Advanced Decline Index is making all-time highs. Everything is up. And this is not a market that you generally want to sell. And you might say, well, everyone's doing it, then, I shouldn't be doing it. Well, remember, we are very much for looking for new opportunities, such as what we've been talking about in treasuries and Ethereum and some other things. But I don't think this is the time to go against this market right now. Everything's looking good and the bulls are fully in control. And one of the reasons why that is it's euphoria post the, of course, US election, which tends to happen. But it's also this nature of where we are in the year. Thanksgiving to New Year's Eve tends to be 75% bullish no matter what since 1928. And remember, if you're looking for a pullback, the most likely pullback will actually be next week. Only 33% of the time up. So less than 50, that's actually a pretty interesting stat. Where do we tend to see the best results? If we have a look here, we tend to see Thanksgiving all the way through the end of the year. The best results come out of the US 2000. Also remember, the VIX tends to bottom off somewhere around December as well. So the big concern right now, and we'll do a special on the weekend, is what if we go into a trade war? Will we see the markets get absolutely flushed? Last time we saw this, we got crushed in the big tech stocks. So that's something that you've got to be thinking about into 2025. And I think it's one of the biggest threats. So we'll talk about it very, very soon. Financials doing well, energy doing okay. And obviously all of the Trump playbook from 2016 seems to be where the markets are at. And we already have thought that for a while. Small caps still on track to do something similar to Ethereum in some ways in terms of running through to March. Don't bank on these seasonality reports. This is just a tool to help you gain confidence with the price action. Price action is ultimately the truth. We're trading the psychology of the markets and investing in them. Remember that, guys. In terms of Wall Street, all of their expectations of growth are going to come out from small caps over the next year. So they're going to be wanting to look for that. Now let's talk dark pool activity. We mentioned that we saw a large trade, a huge dark pool, 3x fund, treasury bulls, and it looks like they came in just a few days ago. We'd already seen a lot of accumulation, but we just got another big trade. Now, it's likely these are accumulation. We don't know it, but it's likely they're accumulation. And so far, the price action's obviously been pushing up and the US 10-year has been coming down. We'll look at that in a moment together. Let's talk rotation. Things, risk on, risk on, risk on. That's what seems to be doing well. Semi's actually underperforming here. You'll notice clean energy, solar, construction, biotech, the best of the last 5 days. And that's really telling us again that the market is taking that risk. When we look at the S&P 500, it closed just underneath 6,000. The main reason, the 6,000 call wall is back. And it looks like the markets are trying to pressure under that 6K. But I think the close that we got in the previous session above 6,000 bodes very well that any pullbacks will generally be met by bull demand. So some good stuff going on there. Still, the futures market action looks pretty strong. When we take a look at the 0DTE options coming into the Wednesday session before Thanksgiving, 6K is the big resistance zone. Of course, movement above that should finally start to get more of that positive gamma underway. And you'll notice that as you go through here to the 2nd of December, you get quite a lot of action in terms of the puts underneath. So there's a decent amount of hedging there, and that's going to help keep this market up. So it's unlikely we're going to go into a cascade sell. However, we will keep updating if that changes. Tesla, big base around 337 into this week. And you'll notice here again, we seem to see 330, 335 kind of holding this market up. We're trading at 332 at the moment, so 330 should theoretically be the floor when it comes to options. If we go too much underneath that, it could start a bit of a sell-off. But for now, Tesla's still bullish on the charts. NVIDIA, 135. We've said it many times, 134, 135. That's where the put wall is. Let's now jump into the charts, have a look at the US 10-year. Good fall off here. This bodes well for a couple of market indices, exclusively probably the small caps and also, of course, China, which we'll look at in a moment. But the US 10-year has dropped. That's good for, of course, bonds, specifically treasuries, which we saw bounce up. Those dark pool activity trades seem to be doing quite nicely. And we see here the bull zone. So this is the second. The first was get above the 20. We did that. Now we're at this bull zone. If we get above that, then it kind of tells us that we're moving the ship up. And remember, this is why we say if it's in the press, it's in the price. Just a week and a bit ago, we saw Druckenmiller. And I love the Druck, yeah? But he came out, oh, I'm going to destroy treasuries. Yeah, probably Druck's up here shorting. Remember, just don't pay attention to what these guys say. They often are doing the opposite or even using us as exit liquidity. I'm not saying Druck is, I don't know, but you know what I mean? It's not worth filling your brain space with that too much. Let's see what really is going on underneath the hood. That's what we do here. That's what we're focused on. Position-based trading. I don't care what they have to say. I want to know what they do, and so do you. So here we have consumer discretionary. Basically, it looks like consumer discretionary is still very strong. Effectively, this means the American consumer is looking decent rather than what we're led to believe. Obviously, everyone always looking at the debt side. Yes, it's a concern. Yes, it eventually goes bad, but not right now, according to the market. And home builders have held this rally so far. However, we've got inside bars, so we'll see what happens there. But home builders still okay. When we move over to the US dollar, this is probably the news of the major markets over the last 24 hours. We drop back down to this first level of major support. Now, this is where US dollar buyers will come in if they're going to. So some day traders and scalpers and stuff will be looking for buys here. We've already seen this level respected once. We have to believe that it could be respected again. But if it falls underneath this zone and closes underneath the daily 20, we have to then think, okay, that's going to be weak dollar. It's going to tell us the US 10 years going down. It's going to push treasuries up. It's going to help gold. It's going to help, of course, some of the other commodities and Chinese markets. Let's move over to gold for a second. Good area, still no really strong reaction. So, of course, we went to the rally side. We've dropped back down. I'd like to see buyers here. Now, if you look at silver in a moment, silver's a lot scarier. And that's why we said we needed that activation above 30.90. We just don't have that. I'm looking for it. If we get that in the future, I've got an alert there. We're talking about it. Silver for now, swing traders and investors may not care too much. It's okay still. But yeah, day traders will not want to be looking at that just yet for the long anyway. Shorters, it's probably not the best zone to short either. US oil, still sitting around boring zone. We'll repeat on that when it comes through. And remember Tesla, as long as it holds above that 330, 320 area, there's still buyers theoretically around that zone. NVIDIA, same kind of thing, holding 135 for now. Very boring in the semis market. I wouldn't activate new semi trades until we see NVIDIA crack the 148, 150. We know there's calls there. Until we're through that zone, we will not see, in my belief, a full-on rally through semiconductors. Let's now move over to the major indices. We'll talk about HSI here. Chinese market saw a nice resurgence, not above our alert. We're looking for the alert here. But I think for people that have been looking at the position for the US dollar to be dropping, remember, China doesn't want to devalue their RMB at the moment. So it looks like we're going to need a weak dollar to really get this stim package through, at least enough to temporarily boost it. And for now, looking at that daily 20, looking at the break to the high, and of course, that will be a good trigger for momentum. US 2K still holding up at the resistance. That's fine for now. We still think pullbacks to be met by bull demand. And the NASDAQ, a little bit weaker because there's funds moving out. They're clearly going to other areas. They're going to those mid caps that we've mentioned. I mean, look at the mid cap compared to the Mag 7 over the last couple of months, doing so much better. And that's why you've got to rotate. Speaking of rotation, Ethereum to Bitcoin. Nice. Look at that. Little improvement. Now, I'm not saying it's out of the gates yet and Ethereum's the greatest coin ever. I couldn't care about Ethereum. Some of you will take offense to that, but we don't care. I like Bitcoin the most. However, Ethereum has been lagging significantly. Everybody knows that. Whether it's a dead coin or whatever else people want to say, it's probably irrelevant. really the price action showed us, and the dark pools and the big trades are showing us that things are serious. Now that it's broken through this high over here, I think it's going towards 3,830, then possibly even 4,6. And with the breakout past 3,830, it's going to break a fairly significant downward trend line kind of area over here, which comes through over previous highs from 21. Now, this reminds me a little bit of that Bitcoin setup in 2020. I'll have a posted chart over on X, following the links in the description down below, and you guys can have a look at that one. But this is the type of thing that could begin a relatively decent rally. And remember, if you look at market caps, theoretically, Ethereum could double. That's not impossible, certainly something that I would be angling in on in terms of if this is going to be a sustained alt and other crypto rally other than just Bitcoin. Now, what about Bitcoin? A little bit of a rally, a little bit earlier than I thought. I thought we'd probably get down to around 89, 90,000, but again, the pullback is fine. Nice rally off there, too many shorts. I mean, there are so many people shorting this thing right now. I was meant to put the slide in. Again, it's over on X. I posted it there. But really, it's like this. This is how many people open shorts down here. I mean, what is wrong with these guys? There's huge shorts over here. And last time they put in huge shorts back in October, and they got absolutely destroyed. So somebody, I think it was like the largest inflow we've ever seen into like leverage shorts. So I wonder what happened to them over the last 24 hours. For now, though, I'd expect if we do get a pullback, let's say around 93, possibly buyers to try to come back into it. Very interesting point here for Bitcoin. Obviously, everyone wanting over 100. I think ultimately that will happen. But you've got to remember the move from Bitcoin has gone above all the other cryptos. We're starting to enter into that time where Bitcoin can be taken a little bit out in terms of percentages by the other markets. And I'm not going to go against some of those big trades that are coming through. So very interesting 24 hours on the markets, guys. I hope you've been enjoying the show. Remember to subscribe. I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving if you're from America with your family and friends. And obviously check us out on X. If you love a good Black Friday sale and you want to know more about replication, join us in our courses. I'd have to recommend the day trading masterclass and advanced class, especially if you want to do investing and swing trading. The advanced will blow your mind. Either way, it's a lot more than's here. Either way, have a fantastic time, and I'd love to see you in the next video. So make sure to subscribe and smash that bell.